and maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. I mean, I think a lot of it's wrong and demonstrably wrong, but it doesn't really matter. You can say anything you want because you're supporting power, and nobody expects you to justify anything. For example, if I was, I don't think that's very surprising, but the more powerful states are involved in more terrorism by and large, and the United States is the most powerful, so it's involved in massive terrorism. I think the burden of proof is on those who say there is a right to use violence, and that's a hard burden to meet, both morally and even tactically. And frankly, I think it can very rarely be met.
I'm curious, I think I've read interviews where you have tried to separate your approach in science to your approach in politics, but I'm curious as to whether, I'll ask the question again, is there, let me ask you this way, how does your approach to the world as a scientist affect and influence the way you approach politics?
Well, and sort of, see, I think studying science is a good way to get into fields like history.
Okay.
The reason is you learn what an argument means. You learn what evidence is. You learn what makes sense to postulate and when. What's going to be convincing. You sort of internalize the modes of rational inquiry, which happen to be much more advanced in sciences than anywhere else. On the other hand, applying relativity theory to history won't get you anywhere.
No,
so it's a mode of thinking,
right. Okay.
and I try, at least with what success others have to judge, to use the mode of thinking that you would use in the sciences to human affairs. And I think it's a good idea to do so. As to other connections, there may be some, but they're pretty remote. I mean, if you think about the core notions of what I was calling anarchism, which, as I say, is just deeply rooted in popular traditions everywhere, for good reasons, I think. It's based on a certain conception of, if you sort of try to take it apart, it's based on some kind of conception of what Bakunin once called an instinct for freedom. People have an instinctive drive for freedom from domination and control. I think can't prove it, but it's probably true. The core of the work that I've been interested in language